Welcome to Big Roofs Podcast. Today I talked to Travis, the CEO of Roofle. I love Roofle. I was a roofing company owner, and I use Roofle a lot. Back in 2022, I was one of the first contractors on the platform. It massively helped my business. And it wasn't just about one generation, a younger generation. A lot of our ideal customer profile was people nearing retirement age or retired, and they love the tool too. We're going to talk about a lot of different things about how Roofle helps homeowners and how contractors have to shift their mindset to becoming a modern roofer. You got to use Roofle. It's the better way to do business. Make sure you have automations connecting to text and email 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Watch this podcast about how Travis unveils the ability for a contractor to think in modern terms and actually change your business for the better. Let's get into it. Travis, you're the CEO of Roofle. I was one of the first Well, do you know if I was one of the first contractors on the platform? It was like September 1st. It was like 10 a.m. Eastern. Mm-hmm. And my roofing business got on Roofle's platform. Mm-hmm. Is that the day that you guys actually officially launched, or did you have like a beta test?
We had a beta test. So we had a beta test as of 50 contractors when we did the beta test. And that started back in June of 2022. So when we were still in the B2C days, right, when we were still selling direct to homeowners, these contractors were coming to us and saying, hey, this is pretty cool. Hey, this is pretty cool. How do I get this? And so we had a pretty big list of contractors at that time that had been coming to us. And we said, hey, we're doing a beta. Would you be interested in doing it? And so there was about 50 of them that we did the beta basically from June up until, about September. So there was like that 3-month period there where we were doing that beta. So but we actually went live, basically in September. So we went kind of live to the, really general public, as far as it not really being in beta anymore. But I would say you got to be one of the first ones, I would say, as far as that came on the platform when we actually went, kind of live, if that makes sense.
Yep, makes sense. I mean, it was pretty crazy for my business. I just started sending out the first week. I just started sending out like the link to all of our like Realtor connections, and they just they loved it, and insurance agents too. And they were just they loved it so much. And it's only gotten more prevalent and like more accepted since 2022. So, I mean, this is moving forward. I feel like I say this so much, but like you have to think in modern terms moving forward. Like it's 2025, 2026 is just going to get more technology based. You're going to have to think that way.
Yeah. And I think that not only, when we first thought of this idea, back 6 years ago, when we first started this venture, back in 2019, so that was even like pre-COVID, right? When we were thinking about how to, build this out and where it's going, because in our contracting business, we're just like, we heard it all the time. Well, I don't want you to come out to my home. Can you just tell me what this is going to cost? Can you just ballpark me? Can you just tell me about what this is? I don't want to waste your sales rep's time. I don't want to, do all those things. So can you just tell me this? Is there a way to go to your website and figure out what this is going to approximately cost, right? So we heard that all the time. So we said, okay, how is this? Is this something that's possible to be able to fill that demand, for these customers? And it wasn't, just obviously the millennials, right? It was all sorts of different, customers that were asking for this, right? But I think it just naturally, the shift was happening naturally just because of everything being available at their fingertips, just by everything that's out there, whether it's, Uber Eats or DoorDash or whatever it is, everything is conveniently right there at their fingertips, compared to where in construction, it's not available there, right? So it kind of goes back to us seeing, okay, there's definitely a demand there. So thinking about it from that perspective, it's only going to become more and more of a thing as we can see the younger generation. Basically, you look at 5 and 6 and 7-year-olds know how to operate tablets and phones and all these things better than their grandparents. So it's only going to become more and more of a thing as far as, technology becoming more and more important. And then also we look at not only from technology, but also kind of like giving that consumer kind of, I don't want to say more control, but more things available to them at their fingertips that they can interact with and kind of help make them kind of the guided decision kind of on their own, before you really even go out to their house. And so, that was really where it all started, back then as far as 6 years ago, and then kind of evolving, from there as far as, launching into us selling direct to homeowners and figuring out A/B testing a lot of stuff. What do they want? What do they not want? And then obviously coming into where we are today. But yeah, I totally agree with you as far as like every contractor needs to look at it from the perspective of now to where it's going in the future, as far as like giving things to homeowners and giving them more access. And more importantly, like, why would you not want to be able to weed out some of those tire kickers where like they think it's 5,000 and it's actually 30,000. And now you've sent somebody an hour away or whatever to the home, and you weren't even in the same ballpark. And I'm sure we've all been there to where we weren't even aligned even close to what you thought this was going to be.
Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times that happened to us. So this is that, what you're saying is totally true. Like everyone goes through that of, how well can you qualify somebody without pushing them away? Like I always talk about pre-qualification, like who's your ideal customer? And I also think it's really interesting. You talked about like younger generation. Our ideal customer in Athens, at least, was like retirement age people. They were moving there to retire for low cost of living, to be near in a college town. And they were using our tool a lot and they loved it. This is not like some young crowd. That our ideal customer was like 55 and up. Mm-hmm. And they really saw value because I was giving those same people, there was about 3 to 5 other different competitors that we had. I was the only one doing that. I was the only one giving them what they wanted. And correct me if I'm wrong, but at least from my perspective, we had a lot of people using Roof Cult Pro way after hours. And I've heard Mike Goldenstein talk about like 10 p.m. to midnight. What's roughly when you're seeing people using the tool? What time of day are you seeing that?
Well, it's funny because back when we were, utilizing it, as a contractor ourselves, was that, a lot of our usage was coming in the evenings. And it made sense because that's usually when, they actually sat down and had time to actually go through this and talk about it. And it came to mind as when they got home, and then the wife's like, hey, did you look at calling somebody? Oh, no, let me just go look it up online. Oh, wait, hold on. I can get an instant quote right here. So, and again, I think a lot of it can be skewed based on a lot of contractors that they're pushing more of their marketing dollars, specifically like maybe Facebook or social media during the day, maybe rather than in the evening. So they're generating more of that, during the day. But I think that if they were to kind of spread out that marketing spend kind of throughout the day and kind of expand that, I think that that they would definitely see that there would be more usage in the evenings than there would be during the day. I think right now they say we see more during the day, but that's when they're spending their marketing dollars, right? That's when they're spending their Google dollars. They're showing up on their ads. They're posting more of their ads. They're segmenting more of their ads towards during the day because in their mind, that's when they're still open. That's when they're still open for business. Well, now necessarily you're providing them a quote 24 hours a day. So we talked to a lot of our contractors and say, not only in your Google My Business do you offer online estimates, but you're also pretty much open 24 hours a day at this point, right? Because you're now available to be able to give them, something of value or some sort of price right there on your website, where now they can shop and browse some products right there on their website. So that was what we found, is that the majority of our business not only was finance, offering finance to customers and giving them that flexibility, but then also being able to give them access. And it really came in between, I believe it was like, 9 at midnight, 8 at midnight, depending on obviously where you were in the country, but more in those evening hours when probably more husband wives are going to have those conversations and say, you had a honey-do list. Did you follow up on this? And the husband's like, oh crap, let me look right now while I'm sitting here on the couch and kids are in bed or whatever. Like, let me go ahead and look this thing up.
And you get the answer. Like, you win as the husband. If you're going to my company and you click, you get an answer right then. Oh, how much is this roof going to cost? Mm-hmm. And that was a huge thing for us because I remember I ordered a Tesla sitting on the couch watching Netflix, and I was like, if I can buy a car like this, everyone's going to start buying roofs like this. Home services the same way. It was like very, very quick, just showing my wife what it was. That was it. We bought the car in less than an hour on my phone. Mm-hmm. And again, I'm not in my ideal customer age bracket, but it still happened a lot the same exact way. People would, the tire kicking part was amazing because we can see that we wasted way less time. It was so great in the beginning, just a lead source, just that alone. You want more leads? Everybody always wants more leads. It even says it on your website. You want more leads? Like, this is a way leads can be filtered through. And then you can see, oh, these are actually legitimate, potential customers for us to sell. And you mentioned financing too. Like once you guys built that out, we did more financing through Roof Quote Pro, through Moment. Like we did more financing in one calendar year than all the other years combined because of what you guys offer. That is directly because of that. Because you make it easy. It's very clear. The plans are fair. Like we had a lot of approval. Like there's always going to be challenges in whichever market you're in, but like we sold lots of jobs because of the platform that you guys offer. And that should not go unnoticed, because people always talk about like financing in general. We need it, of course, but it's so difficult to present. It is a different type of selling. And the way that you guys have it set up for the contractor and the homeowner, like that's the hard part. And what makes Roof Quote Pro differently as far as the customer journey and the experience is just in its own category. Like you can't just have these little, I mean, you have like a little picture of a house and like, it's just not the same thing as like, this is the exact product that you're going to be putting on your home. This is the color that you put in your home. This is the financing. Like those things are very important for a customer experience that you guys do really well.
Yes.
That's what helped a ton. It helped a ton.
Here's how roofers make it home for dinner every single night without losing a single sale, even when they're one-man shows. Automate your communication with ProLine, the only communication-first CRM for roofers. Because when you fix your communication, you'll sell more jobs. Your weekends will smell more like sunscreen and backyard barbecues than that crappy gas station coffee. And all you got to do is ask these roofers.
Where we had about 200% growth, and I attribute that to incorporating ProLine.
But just with one automation, I was able to get 25 Google reviews.
It's been absolutely insane how quickly we were able to grow.
Now, ProLine's not going to win the beauty pageant, but it will save your Saturday. Now, back to the show.
Yeah, and that's where, from being a contractor for so many years, and I ran a sales team of about, I think as big as 60 sales reps. But the hardest thing that I ever had to do was train sales reps on finance.
Yep.
Because they're so used to just going in there and offering for cash, right? Get that down payment, that check, whether it's insurance or retail or whatever. It's always uncomfortable introducing finance and talking about selling it on payment rather than selling it on price. And so with the way that we've been able to do it is that the homeowner is seeing the price. Now they know how much they should go get approved for a loan for. And now they're in total control, right? They're the ones that are going to get the approval. They saw the price. They know how much to apply for because they know what it's going to cost. So they can do that on their own. So by the time that the lead comes into the contractor, it's John Smith, a $40,000 roof, but he's been approved for $50,000 already. So now, as you give that lead out, to a sales rep, it's like the financing's already been done. He's already been pre-approved. Just go in there and finalize it. You don't have to bring it up. You don't have to mention it because they've already been pre-approved. They're already interested to it. So I think that's where we've also seen greater success, not only for you, but it's even other contractors being able to increase the number of jobs sold or the business sold through finance than what they ever have before, because we've made it as easy as we possibly can to help the sales reps, because I know that that's a huge pain point for contractors, is training sales reps on how to sell on financing or bring up the conversation. Because I knew when I was a sales rep, there was nothing more devastating than when I flip it from cash deal to finance and they're like, yes, let's go get approved, and they get denied. Because now all of a sudden you potentially just destroyed that deal, because now that person's been denied. They're like, oh crap, like maybe I shouldn't be buying this project because clearly my credit's not high enough, or I don't have enough debt to income, or whatever it is. Now they're second guessing themselves. So I could see where the sales reps are a little afraid. And in this case, they don't have to worry about bringing it up. It's already been brought up to the homeowner through Roof Quote Pro. It's already been done for them. So by the time they get in the house, they don't need to have that conversation because it's already been done.
Yep.
So
it's 100% true. Like in any business, you must think of your customer first. You must just get into their brain and understand the pain points, and making it easy is a huge part of it. You guys do that. It's there for someone, just like the illustration you just said. Like if you're sitting on the couch and you have the honey-do list and you haven't done that thing, you need to make it easy to have the problem solved very quickly. Mm-hmm. And so moving down, to what we all want is we want the problem solved. I just know me. I don't like to have to deal with the issues, all the questions that go along to solve whatever problem it is. Especially with the honey-do list, I want it to be done. I want to have a solution, or at least have a path pretty quickly, and because time is valuable. And then moving to like, okay, well, I didn't think it was $5,000, but I didn't think it was $30,000. Like, okay, well, let's make it easy to make it. We had two different groups of people. We had people that did not have $30,000 saved up, and we had high net worth people who wanted to use other people's money. Those are the two big groups. We didn't have really one. We had people in the middle, but we had those two groups of people. And when you can make it easy for people that really want or need the easy payment, it makes you look better as a contractor. And then they're more likely to refer you to their friends because you just made it easy. Just keeping moving down the line of, you thought about your customer journey. It's very important. I want to kind of continue to harp on like the importance of the customer experience using your tool versus other tools out there. It is important. Mm-hmm. It reflects on you, your company. They see a more well thought out experience and process and product and solution than anything else on the market right now. It's really important if you want to sell not just more. You don't want to just sell more jobs. We all want to sell more jobs. If you want to sell more profitable jobs, you have to think about those things and really value that element of your business. And you just got to do that.
Yeah, you talked about ease of use, and I'm gonna hit back on the realtor aspect because you talked a little bit about realtors and we didn't really all that much. But yeah, a lot of contractors work with realtors, and we know how painful that can be to work with realtors because you may get one out of 100 jobs, right? That you go out, you quote, you get them the quote, they may use you after the sale or before the sale, right? You spend a ton of time with realtors. And so being able to use this technology to be able to put it in the hands of realtors that now eliminates your time having to drive out there, put together the quote that it's 1 out of 100 that you're probably going to get, but you don't want to destroy that relationship. So you want to keep that relationship of those potentials, but now being able to give them access to a technology like this to where they can get the information very quickly and then being able to get it to their customer very quickly, being the person that's either buying or selling the home. So that now that they have the information to where you didn't have to run out to the house. And so we've seen a huge response and a big positive response from realtors using this technology and contractors that have been able to further their relationship and not only just expand from one realtor, but almost a whole office maybe of realtors that says, hey, use my guy because he's got this technology. Does your guy have this technology? You should use my guy.
Yeah, it's so true. That happened to us a lot. Because we were in our first market, there was an 85-year-old company and then a $50 million company that was mainly commercial, but they're just two huge behemoths of competitors. Mm-hmm. And we were like the third choice, but we had tons of reviews. People liked us. But when we had a tool like this, they had years of experience with these realtors, the relationships that they had built with the realtors. Guess what immediately happened? And our competitors hated it. Mm-hmm. The whole offices, just like you said. Oh, guess what? Delari Roofing's got this thing. It makes it super easy. I get my answer within minutes. I don't have to schedule a roofer to come out here. There's none of that. Even if it was same day, it doesn't matter. We have it in seconds. Like you just click on here, put the address in, and it's done. Mm-hmm. Like that was what your point is exactly true. It worked really well for us. And it gets better and better the more you use it. The more this is a little trick I did. When I moved to Savannah, I didn't know anybody, but I had RoofCode Pro. So I would go on listings and I would get the address. I would pull RoofCode Pro. I would send because I'd look at the picture of the house and I could see it needed a new roof. And I would send it to the realtor, like, hey, no charge for this. Just here's the price of the roof if it ever comes up during the transaction process. And we got so many people so excited about that because I just provided value out of nowhere. They don't necessarily need it, but if they do want it, I got people in my pipeline, and then they started to refer me other business just because I provided value for them. Like you're helping these other professionals win with very little. I mean, I would sit there. I literally sat there for 45, 47 minutes one time. I went through like, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 listings that needed roofs. I'd put them in there, send them to the realtor.
Mhm.
It took some time, but I started to generate leads from people who already were in front of my ideal customers. But it's another way, didn't cost me much at all, just time. And I was able to actually generate a lot of long-term relationships with that particular way I'd use Roof Quote Pro.
Yeah. Again, you thought outside the box. It's similar to like, a lot of people using it for, with Nextdoor, right? Plugging something in Nextdoor, you get into your Nextdoor community, is a big one as well. And what does it cost to do that? Virtually free, right? As far as just plugging something in there. And we've seen tons of success stories that we've heard and testimonials that we've shot with other contractors, just talking about the other creative ways to where they were new to a market, whether they opened a new office or whatever it was. And it's like, how are we going to start generating business and get established in this market? Well, it was, next door, they went in there and put something in there, ever thinking about getting your roof replaced, try it out here. Right. And they got hundreds of hits that came through just from that ad or that posting that they had, and been able to generate basically free organic, traffic, for people that are interested. Now, once they go through the process, now you have their information. Well, now you could take their information and start really following up with them, right? And trying to really land business, or even see where it's coming in from, what section of the neighborhood or what section of the city that people are searching for these things. And maybe now you find some of these new areas that you didn't know existed, as far as now you're able to go out and kind of target those areas as well. So there's a lot of different creative ways of being able to utilize it to be able to expand your business, whether you're in a new location or you're just trying to find new areas to go. Is like the solutions out there, or the things that you can utilize it for, are really endless when you're really putting it into the hands of the consumer and giving them technology that they can interact with. Because most homeowners will say, hey, this is pretty cool. Because in most cases, they probably have never seen it before. How often do people replace their roofs in their lifetime? 1 or 2 times, maybe, in their lifetime, right? So depending on where they live in the country, some areas it could be every other year from, what I see in some cases with a lot of hail areas, right? But in most areas of the country, this is something only 1 or 2 times. But maybe they've interacted with other contractors and it's been a very painful process. So now they're like, oh, dang, need a roof. I know this is going to be painful. Now I'm getting into it. And oh, wow, this company made it very, very, very easy to be able to understand what this is going to cost compared to what other places have as well. So again, thinking about it with, like you said, the consumer or your customer in mind, just think about if you were the customer, what would you like to see? What would you like to have access to? What would help you be able to make a decision on being able to do something, or be able to make a decision on this project? So put yourself into their shoes. And I think contractors don't do a great job of doing that, because they say, this is how it's been done for hundreds of years, and this is the way it's always been done. And so why would we want to deter ourselves away from that when the technology is now out there to be able to do so? It's like, you got to think about starting to offer some of these things within your business.
Yep. And we keep harping on the 24/7. Like, you got to be available 24/7. That's number one. You have to be able to, constantly be available in some form or fashion. We can talk about automations and why having automations connected to these like lead magnets are really important. But in general, you need to understand, if you're asking, we need more leads, that may be an issue, but you can also snowball these prospects, these potential buyers, with qualifying tools like this. And it's a longer sales cycle. You just said it. 1 or 2 times in your lifetime, you're going to replace your roof. And the way you do that with lowering your customer acquisition costs, because if you're spending money on ads and you're spending money on all different lead sources, you're spending hundreds and potentially thousands of dollars to acquire one customer. And so the way you reduce that, the way you make, like, why do I have no money whenever I have sold X amount of roofs this month? You're spending so much money to acquire those customers. So how do you reduce that number? How do you make it cheaper to get a new customer? Well, you need to keep them in a pipeline and continue to follow up with those people. And manually doing it can be done, but you're going to have to hire a person to do that. So what we did is we used ProLine's automations with Roof Quote Pro, because those people, they may be tire kickers, or they may be waiting for their tax return or a Christmas bonus or whatever it was. And we would sell people months and months and months and months down the road because we kept them in our pipeline. We kept them in our automation pipeline. You've got to do the same kind of thing with a tool. If you're getting the leads, don't waste a lead. Don't just like throw it in the trash. You created a process and a system using Roof Quote Pro to get that lead coming in. It's so valuable. Don't let it go away until they tell you to pound sand. Never stop following up. And you can build you will not have to have so many new leads every month coming in. You just keep snowballing the existing leads you have, and they did pay off every year. When we started Roof Quote Pro and then we continued automations, like following up all the time, it was like easy. It was so much easier each month. And in each year too, like we had less of a slow season because we had all these people piling up for months and months and months. Like it's really important to be available all the time so that you can get these new leads tacked onto the snowball as it continues to grow. Like that is essential. Especially, I know you guys go to, I may be wrong, but it feels like you and the Roofle team go to more events than any other company that I know in our space. Is that probably fair to say?
I mean, I think we're at 80 some that we're tasked to go to this year. So yeah, 80 events. I feel like we do. I don't know, there might be somebody else out there, but since people like yourself and others tell us that you guys go to more events than anybody else out there, it feels like it. Yeah. And when we go to these events, I mean, a lot of times we may be speaking on this exact subject that you just talked about, John, is that I asked a contractor in the crowd, is like, do you know what your website conversion rate is? They're like, what's that? What does that even mean? Like, well, it's something that you're not even tracking as far as how many people come to your website that actually give you your name and number. And then from there down the funnel, like what's your website, conversion rate all the way down to what's your appointment set rate, to your demo rate, and following all the way down the funnel is that we learn that these contractors are spending so much money on marketing and advertising, but then not really focusing on what really matters, which is really that end funnel, right? How do I get this marketing spend that I just spent to get them to my website or get them to my landing page? How do I get them to actually give them my name and number or their name and number so that I can actually contact them as an interested person? And then how fast do you contact them? Most are like, I don't know, within 24 hours. What? They've already hired somebody else probably by that point. You should be contacting them in seconds or minutes at the latest. And then how many times do you contact them? I don't know, twice. And then we throw it in the cold pile. Twice? And you throw it in the cold pile? Like, you should be contacting them multiple times a day for a week. And then maybe it trails off from there, but you still keep them in your funnel, in your pipeline, because you don't know whenever you might send the right text, the right email at the right time to where it's like, yes, I'm thinking about this again. I need to do it. And then, you're top of mind, right? Of whenever that they do it. So we always talk about, just like what you said, is that you don't mark them cold until they tell you pound sand, or I found somebody else, already did the project, don't call me anymore, but you keep them in that drip funnel, just like what you're talking about, because again, they were interested at one time. And so they're going to continue to be interested trust me, if you pester them enough or you stay in front of them enough, eventually they will tell you, hey, thanks, John. I appreciate the follow-up. You are, on top of your game more than anybody else, but we hired somebody else, whatever it may be, right? And so I can't stress it enough to contractors. We'll look at their CRMs and they'll have 20, 30,000 homeowners in cold. And I'm like, you were sitting on a gold mine. Why are they cold? Like, yep. Oh, because they didn't answer us in the first couple of days we called. It's like, wow, the potential that you had of revenue that you just missed out on because you didn't have some sort of, funnel set up to where you were still continuing to touch them, for a period of time, like lost out on some really good potential of them landing more and more revenue. So I can't express that enough of what you just went over and how important it is for contractors to have those things set up, because so many of them try a couple of times and they just mark it as dead or cold. They say, oh, we're moving on.
Yep. I mean, to be fair, it's emotionally, it's mentally exhausting. Like there's all kinds of reasons why I understand why people don't do it. It's really time consuming. I was spending I counted it up. I was spending 15 to 20 hours a week following up and I was just texting and emailing and calling. And that was my little tiny business. Like if you have a huge business, it literally is impossible. You have to hire another full-time person to constantly follow up. So here's an example of what I did. There's probably better ways of the cadence, but we have all these templates built in ProLine. So I don't have to write them. So I only had text and email when I was using ProLine. Now there's AI agents. There's my voice calling out to, again, follow up very consistently. So if somebody uses Roof Code Pro, they're going to get a text and an email from me immediately within about 30 seconds. That's going to happen the first time. If it's depending on the certain time of day, we use AI to figure out what time of day it was. We would do it a second time the same day, depending on when they use the tool. So 2 times the first day, but that's 2 texts and 2 emails the same day. Then every single day for 3 more days, we do the same thing. Mm-hmm. And you're like, that's too much. Like you said, pester. It's not pestering. It's being persistent, because you also just said they have a problem. You need, as a contractor, you have the solution for their problem. They reached out to you, solve their problem. And you almost said verbatim what people would text us if they went with somebody else. Literally, ProLine has sent out millions of automations now. Almost every, nice rejection was just what you just said. Hey man, we went with somebody else, but I'm really impressed with how well you followed up. There was always something nice. If somebody said F you, okay, great. That's 1 out of probably 10,000, because they had a problem, you have a solution, and they used your Roof Code Pro tool on your website, and they wanted a solution, and you're just continuing to follow up with them. That's all you're doing. You got to do that. So the first 3 days we did once or twice a day. Then after that, every other day for 3 more every other days. And then after that, we would do twice a week for 3 more weeks. And then we do every week for 2 years. It doesn't make sense for someone to actually do that with their phone. It makes 0 sense.
As a human, right? Like an actual person, right?
Yep. Yeah. But the customers overwhelmingly loved what we did, because it was coming from the same phone number that I was calling and texting them anyway. The automations were coming from the same number. So they knew who it was. And they would say, honestly, I'm so sorry I haven't responded. Life's been busy. We're ready to move forward. That would happen so much. They'd say it's been busy. So sorry. They would apologize. And I know probably the price has changed. It's been 4 months. Can you resend me a new quote? Oh, we're ready to move forward. Send the quote right there. Boop, boop, boop. Oh, the price hasn't changed, or it has changed. They would sign it, e-signed, and I'd have it within minutes because of an automation. This is not a crazy thing. This is what you have to adopt in your business. You have to have lead sources like Roof Code Pro, and you have to have a follow-up system, because what I found myself doing before we had this in place is that I had Roof Code Pro, but I would find myself, as good as I am with follow-up, not being able to keep up with all the leads that you guys were providing. It was even the address only leads. We can address that too. What have you seen when you go to talk to people about the lead types, and kind of break down the lead types that you have in Roof Code Pro just break that down, because that's actually very interesting what you guys do.
Yeah. So we have the thing that's called address only leads. And so we have those leads, and those leads are ones to where homeowner comes and interacts with the software, and they enter their address, and then the form pops up, and they don't get to unlock the price until they give their information. So it's a give to get scenario. So in that case, homeowner says, you know what? I don't really want it that bad. I know you're going to be calling me, so I'm just going to leave. Right. Well, you already have their address. Well, we've captured that address, and now you get access to that address. So you know that a person at this address, and you see the structure, you see the property, you see whatever that they've done. You don't have their name or phone number, but you know that at this property they're interested. And so what we've seen with a lot of those people, they've been able to utilize, our webhooks that we have access to, and been able to start a mailing campaign. So now that automatically triggers a mailer to go out, and they do 3 or 4 different mailers around that address, to where that address came in. Now all of a sudden they're sending something, in the mail to that customer, so that they're trying to be able to get them to convert in some sort of way. And then a lot of times what they'll do is, we have a bunch of people in this area. So now when they maybe send people out to the field, now they'll go out there. They know that people are interested in this area, or maybe it's a hail affected area they didn't even know about, but they've seen a lot of address onlys there. They send people out, or their canvas team out to that area, knock on the door. And then obviously, they've seen the logo, they've been to the website, helps with that part of it as well. So there's ways to be able to go after these address onlys to where you didn't actually get the conversion or the neighbor phone number, but you can actually do that as well. And then we also have other ones as well that are called other leads, which other leads would be people that are kind of outside of your service area. So the way that it works is that you get kind of a service area for people that will see a price and people that will not see a price. It just says, unfortunately, you're outside of our service area. Please contact us to be able to get a quote, blah, 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 blah. What people have been able to do now is say, hey, Travis, we want to expand our service area because we noticed that we're getting a lot of customers that are utilizing or want to utilize this technology that are a little further outside of the area we normally service, but we're willing to go there if they've seen a price. So they've already seen a price and they're not a tire kicker. We'll drive an extra 30 minutes. We'll drive an extra 40 minutes or whatever to that area. So they're able to expand that area. And then obviously we have, the RQP leads, which are people who've actually seen a price. When they come into the platform, they've actually already seen a price. They've already seen, all your products. And so we got those. And there's also one that's a little bit further to where it's actually like they're requesting an actual proposal. So they've actually went through, they saw the products, they like this product, this color, they clicked on a button that says, I want a proposal on this, or I want to purchase this one. So where those ones are the ones that have went really all the way down the funnel and have probably spent multiple minutes on the website, which is speed to lead is important because if they're browsing products and spending time, by the time you call them in a few seconds or minutes, they're probably still on your website, browsing products or looking at it or whatever and said, oh, wow, you're calling me. And I'm actually currently looking at all the products on your website. So those are the different types of lead kind of categories that we have so that by the time they come into your system, you know kind of really where they stand and as far as what your potential is to do. So the potential is pretty well unlimited as far as being able to take the information that we gather and then you can utilize it in your business to be able to continue to be able to generate more revenue with however far you want to take it.
Yep. So again, snowball. You've created more ways to get that snowball even bigger and roll down the hill to easier, lower cost sales. The address only, just real quick. What we did is if it was address only, if it's Dope Marketing or SendGym or whoever you use, we had the connections, automations were there. Mm-hmm. If it was address only, we were going to send 8 postcards to that address. 8. Twice a week for 4 weeks. There's a lot of studies done on that. It's very effective. And that's a very low cost to acquire that customer at that point. You send out 8, and we had different postcards, different images, maybe a QR code, maybe not a QR code, different offers on there. Like it was very strategic. You got to be very good at designing your postcards. Mm-hmm. But we did that. I didn't do this enough, but I should have. I should have done handwritten notes. They're more expensive. That's why we didn't do it. But that is really effective as well. Handwritten notes to the address only. Because they every single time we did it, it was so crazy we didn't do it enough. Because they'd be like, I got your note. Thanks so much. Like they would always be so thankful for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Then so that's just an easy way that we didn't do a great job. We should have done a lot better at address only leads. I totally get it. You don't want to give information because you're about to get hit with an automation. Totally fine. We're going to hit you with some postcards now because you have a problem and we have a solution and we want you to know who we are. And now you're in the driver's seat. You homeowner, you're in the driver's seat. You've got 8 postcards just stacking up on your little side table of our logo, our name, a way to contact us, a way to schedule an appointment. Very low cost to acquire that customer. And to your point, you can go canvas that neighborhood, whether it's retail or insurance. Now you know, like, okay, good. We would also draw on Dope Marketing's map, and we would do another different campaign in that neighborhood. So all the neighbors would get postcards too, and we would just dominate that part. Well, it gives your sales team good sales activities to do, like meaningful places to go target. Very, very helpful tool.
Yeah, very helpful. And like you said, most times when you look at a cost to acquire a customer, it's got to be $1,000, $1,200 for most contractors as far as the spend, right? Up in that range. If you think about it from this way, what does it cost? Probably $8 to $12 to send, that series of 8 to 12, postcards, to them in order to be able to get, that opportunity. $8 compared to $1,000. Yeah. Again, like just thinking of creative ways of being able to use it. And again, we have partnerships with both Dope and SendGym just because of the sheer volume that our contractors were using, the address onlys and doing things like that, to where now we kind of preset templates for the contractors that are like, okay, you have Roofle, it's an address only lead. These are some of the preset templates that we use to send out mailers. Right. So they already had it set up for that part of it. So if you are using our technology and you haven't been able to take advantage of your address only leads, well, now there's some things out there and some resources out there to be able to help you be able to start actually utilizing, that part of the actual platform as far as those leads.
Yep. It's very interesting. We're just building a snowball, Travis. We're just building a snowball. We're making it better. Because everyone wins. If you understand the concept of being available 24/7, you have an amazing customer experience from a quoting tool on your website. You know how to utilize that with influential people in your markets, realtors, insurance agents, things like that. That's how you build a business moving forward. If you think it's going to be the old way, it's been you've been to a lot of events this year. It's been slow from what we've heard all over the place, all over the country. We've been to a lot of events too, slower, not necessarily like everybody's dying, but it's slower. So how do you win? You win by having a lower customer acquisition cost, and you just work smarter, and you're able to not hire the person to go and call and follow up all these people. You actually use technology to make sure the snowball continues to grow, so that as you stay in business and the months pass and winter goes through and we're getting to the next season, we would sell so many people because we just kept sending them text messages and emails the whole winter, all Christmas. And that's the way you have to use technology to continue to grow your business.
You talk about a snowball, and I bring it up a lot of events, right? I go to a lot of events, talk to a lot of contractors at these events, and I always ask them whether it's slow or it's not, or they're busy. It's like, what are you doing to prepare for the slow times? So even if it is busy, right, or if it is slow, what have you been able to do to be able to maintain so it's slow around you, but not you? And they said, oh, I've been working on these things the past couple of years, and now they're really starting to come to fruition. And that's what I always tell contractors is, yeah, this year it might be busy, and you might be having all these jobs, don't know what to do with, but what are you doing to prep for years like we have this year? And I think a lot of the contractors that have seen some great success have been building that snowball over the past year or two, to where they haven't seen the effects as greater as some of these contractors that are like, there'll always be work there. We don't need to do anything different. The phone's always going to ring. And it's like, I don't know. Like, you've been in business now for 5-10 years or whatever it's been. Maybe we've just been on a huge upturn of there being actual work or consumers wanting to do this work. It's like, you got to prepare for when it's not. And what are you going to be doing differently when it's not? And you got to be preparing for that, not weeks ahead, not months, but potentially a year or two, as far as like, if it were to get slow and there was no hail, there was no storms, there is an economic downturn, what are we going to be doing differently that's not going to allow us to be able to fall into that same pattern as what our competitors are doing?
Yep. I mean, for me, my first office was in a really small market, college town. People were transient, just not a lot of customers, smaller service area. So it took almost 3 years for me to start feeling like, oh, I can actually eat now. It takes years. And there were no storms. It's all retail, 100% retail. Like, it was, you have to work like that. And I hear from other people that I do podcasts with is like, even the insurance side of things is moving towards retail. What you guys offer with financing, we use so much with insurance jobs. Only about 20% of our work at most in any given year was insurance, but we treated it like retail, and we used financing because we had a whole group of people that were in the military in this one neighborhood, and they got destroyed by hail. They had like $9,000 deductibles for $15,000 roofs. What are they going to do? And then we were the only one out of the 10, 12 contractors that came through that offered financing. I was just like, guys, and I get it. It's a challenge. It's different. All those things. But you've got to be moving in that direction so that you can snowball. So, because we got so many referrals from that. The captain was like, all right, you're going to go to this guy's house and this guy's house. It was just like that. we all have the same kind of insurance. We all have vinyl siding and 3-tab shingles. The roofs are all the same, but you're the only one that can actually get it done. Nobody else can actually afford to do it because you don't have financing. And so, again, Roof Quote Pro made that easy. Like, that was the lead. It was the first lead. I still remember it. First lead came from Roof Quote Pro. We go out there, we do our thing. They already had a proposal. They had financing options. Boom. And it turned into a dozen jobs from one. Like, my acquisition cost was basically nothing then. If you divide it between 12 jobs, is almost nothing. It was going to the same neighborhood, and that wasn't an isolated event. You leverage technology, you make sure you're good at financing, you make sure you do follow-ups, and you can grow your business without having to spend. Let's just recap on that. Brad Akers enlightened me to know, like, a couple years ago, on how expensive it is to acquire a customer. You said $1,000 to $1,200. His numbers, if you're paying management for Google Ads for PPC, and you're paying for ad spend, and you close 1 out of 3, your sales close rate is 33, 35%, which we had higher than that, but most people are not. Then it's $1,500 to acquire one customer.
Yep.
If you're in roofing.
Sounds about right.
And so you can't be there. You just can't. You can't. Like, there's just not enough profit in roofing to make it make sense for most people. Some people can make it work, but for most people, it doesn't make sense. So you have to lower your acquisition costs.
Yep.
And you do that using tools like what you guys offer.
Yep.
We've solved it all. We've done it all, Travis.
Solved it. For all the contractors. We have all the answer. Solved it.
That's right. That's right. Anything else you wanted to say before we go?
No, I think I'm just looking forward to, our next release here coming up at the end of the year, where we kind of, shake up the industry. We have our Gutter Quote Pro feature coming out end of the year. So that's pretty exciting to now allow contractors to be able to do the same thing for gutters. So it's kind of, I think 90+% of our companies that utilize our technology do gutters also. So kind of a nice little add-on, piece of being able to, use the same type of technology, but only, within gutters as well, to be able to kind of streamline that process. So highly been recommended and wanted and demanded, by contractors, as far as being able to kind of do both, really kind of all in one. And so we're really looking forward to that at the end of this year. And, and so we're pretty excited about that one here. And it'll be launched before IRE. IRE's early this year in January. I think typically sometimes it's in February or whatever, but by the end of the year, really looking forward to having that release out and kind of really now going down multiple trade instant quote, trail, right? So really looking forward to that. And it's going to be exciting times here into the next year, for us. So really looking forward to it.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited too. I mean, I did gutters as well, so that'd be a sweet tool. And obviously, we'll see each other at IRE. I don't do any more events until the beginning of January. So RoofCon and IRE are the first two. So I assume we'll see each other there.
You know it. We'll be there. We'll be there. You can't miss one event. It's just one thing we can't do.
All right. Well, everybody, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Travis, thanks for coming today. And until next time, see you later.
Thanks.